Welcome back to the channel. RacerX here, and today I want to put a short video together about something that many of you guys have been asking me to weigh in on. It is about Dodge's new engine that's been put out there. And initially I saw an article on carbuzz.com, but I don't always trust everything that those guys put out. Sometimes they spread a little bit of rumor without really knowing the truth. But when I saw something come out from Motor Trend, they're pretty reliable. And I had a pretty good indication that this is probably what their new engine is going to look like. They're dubbing it the Hurricane platform. And I'm actually kind of excited about it. So I want to tell you guys why I'm excited, talk about one main thing that I'm not excited about with that engine, and just kind of give you my thoughts. If you're new to my channel, please do me a huge favor. Please hit subscribe. You can find that down there in the corner. And here we go.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Now, one thing that we already know is that Dodge has already committed to bringing out the EVs, certainly the EV muscle cars, in 2024. But in the meantime, we still have all of this pressure coming down from the EPA to be more fuel efficient, less emissions, all that kind of stuff. And Dodge kind of had their hand forced and said, look, we can't make these Hemis forever. And so we need to come up with a different power plant, something that is in fact more fuel efficient, a little more eco-friendly, so to speak. But we are not ready to bring the EVs to market just yet. We still have more to do there. And I firmly believe that when they do finally come to market, they will bring some unique features kind of out with that car. But for now, they've got to come up with something, right? So what are they going to start putting in their new vehicles? Well, based on a Motor Trend article that I just read, they're going to bring out a new engine dubbed the Hurricane. Actually, it's a series of engines, a couple of engines, kind of like the Hellcat, I suppose. They're going to have a high output version and a standard output version of this new Hurricane. Basically, an inline 6 twin turbo. Now, I realize a lot of people are going to say, look, I do not like 6 cylinders. I love the sound of a big rumbly V8. Well, you know what? I am right there with you. I absolutely agree. I love the sound of a V8, whether it's a Hemi, whether it's an LS, whatever it may be. I like the sound of a big V8 as well. But as we know, the days of those engines, they're numbered, and there's not a whole lot the manufacturers can do about it at this juncture. So they kind of have to go with the flow. They got to figure out a new power plant based on the times. So I do have a couple of reasons to be somewhat optimistic about this new offering that Dodge will likely bring us. And who knows, they may dub it something other than the Hurricane when it actually comes to market, but that's what they're calling it right now. So really two different versions. Both are going to be direct injected, and that is a good thing in my mind. That means it's just a more modern, more capable engine. For tuning, there are all sorts of other possibilities there. As we know, the Hemis have been around a really long time. That pushrod design, there's nothing new about that. And some people, that's why they really like it. But, they've got to keep up with things, as I mentioned. Really two different options here, right? So they're going to have a standard option, and then they're going to have a high output option. It looks like the standard option is going to be somewhere around 400 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. And then the high output option, which is intriguing to me, about 500 horsepower or more is what they're saying, and 475 pound-feet of torque. So when you really think about that, and yes, they may put this in a lot of their different offerings. It may go in the Jeeps, and it may go in some of the trucks, and I mean, they make a lot of different vehicles. So I see this going in a lot of different things. But one, it's going to be lighter, right? This is going to be an aluminum engine versus an iron block. So we do fully expect to save some weight on this new offering. The other thing is, when you think about the horsepower numbers, the current RT, around 370 horsepower, right? And it does make more torque, around that 400 torque mark. This is going to be a much torquier engine, obviously with the turbos, and then also it's going to make more horsepower. So in my mind, that will already beat basically what that current smaller Hemi is putting out. And then when you talk about something like a Scat Pack, you're basically looking at the exact same torque figure, 475. That's if it doesn't make more power when it actually comes to market. And over 500 horsepower, that's pretty intriguing. But things only get better from there. The Motor Trend article also goes on to talk a little bit about like the cylinder walls, which supposedly are going to be significantly stronger, even though they're aluminum. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And also they're going to be more wear resistant, which kind of brings me into my next important point. And one of the reasons I'm kind of excited about this new offering is the fact that we see inline turbo 6s in other offerings. Porsche does it really well, but we've seen it in a lot of stuff. And the boosted offerings kind of give us a little bit different avenue. As we know, the current Hemis, they really don't do all that well with boost. I mean, you know, you put about 6 or 7 pounds of boost to them, you know, the land rings start popping and things like that, and they're just not very boost friendly. Now we jump up to the Hellcat, a completely different story, but the NA Hemis don't really like a lot of boost. That's the truth of it. But this new offering is made to be boosted. And as with a lot of the offerings out there, you know, that are turboed, when you tune them, you can gain all sorts of horsepower literally with just a tune, or sometimes like downpipes in a tune. You see it on the BMWs, like I said, you see it on the Porsches, you see it on, there's a ton of stuff that they're doing this to, and those cars make really good power, and they tend to be really fast. Look at some of the Audi stuff that's out there running like low 10s with just downpipes in a tune. And you know, these things are kind of watered down from the factory. I don't expect this to be any different. And what that means is that hopefully you'll be able to go out and pay Scat Pack type money, and with a tune and maybe downpipes or something like that, get Hellcat type numbers out of it. That's not a lot of work to do to achieve those kind of numbers. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the fact that you could go out, and we don't know what it's going to cost yet, but I don't suspect it's going to be Hellcat money for this twin turbo V6 if they offer it in a Charger or a Challenger. I gotta believe that that is the replacement for the Scat Pack, and the high output and probably the standard output will probably still outperform an RT quite easily. Like I said, we are saving some weight here as well, but really the big thing is just the aftermarket potential on these things. I mean, imagine being able to go out and pay Scat Pack money, downpipes in a tune, and get over 700 horsepower or something like that out of the thing. I feel like this is a very real possibility. Now, we've seen Ford kind of do this with their Raptor truck, right? I mean, they had a big burbly V8 in that thing. It performed well. It was kind of the bad daddy on the block up until the TRX came out. And then all of a sudden they moved over to a 6-cylinder turbo. And the truck, I mean, it got faster. It got more capable. It towed more. I mean, it did everything really they wanted it to do, with one exception. It just didn't sound as good. And that's kind of the big drawback to the turbo V6s is they don't sound anything like the V8s. And for us old school muscle guys, we like the sound of a big burbly V8. It doesn't matter if it's a Ford, Chevy, Mopar, whatever. I love the sound of a V8. And it didn't have that characteristic. That's the one box that they just couldn't check with it. And there's not a whole lot these manufacturers can do, guys, like I mentioned. I mean, they got to follow suit, or you know, they're just going to become a dinosaur. But it is something that is a little bit on my mind. It is a little bit of a bummer. So I fully expect, obviously, with this new offering from Mopar, it's going to be very capable, guys. There's no question. Aftermarket potential, all that stuff, it all is through the roof. But just don't expect it to sound like your traditional muscle car. It's a bit of a drawback. So there you have it. That's my take on the new Hurricane offering that we're likely to see from Mopar here towards the end of this year, maybe going into the beginning of next year. They're going to have this in some vehicles, guys. And like I said, I trust Motor Trend. And so I got to believe that this is going to be coming very, very soon. It's going to be capable. It's going to be, from an aftermarket perspective, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's probably not going to sound that great. That's the truth of it. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. So until then, RacerX.